Welcome back, Nerdiverse. It is I, the loveful himself, Mike G, returning with a new segment of MOTN Top 10, where we take 10 of our favorite things in the entire Nerdiverse and slap them into a sandwich with bacon, lettuce, and tomatoes. Hold the bacon, add in turkey. We're back here once again with the incomparable, the ecstatic, the ever effervescent Tootie Odin. What's going on, Toots?
Hi. Doing good. Doing good. Kind of excited for this one. I know you're quite under the weather right now, so this is going to be tough. We're going to push through it. We're going to get through it as quickly as possible, but as accurately as possible as always. Thank you so much for being the professional that you are.
Rain, sleet, or slow. Rain, sleet, or slow and snow. Nerdiverse,
Uh-huh.
I'm here and I'm doing it. Thank you, Toots. Love is in the air in the Nerdiverse. I'm here to celebrate one of the most beautiful holidays of all time. We're doing something a little bit left of center. This is content that we normally don't do on the Nerdiverse, but love blooms on the battlefield. Why can't it bloom in the Nerdiverse? Top 10 romantic comedies. Who would have thunk it? Here we are. Let's just start before we jump into the list. Toots, what is your overall history with romantic comedies?
Okay, this is going to be a hot take, so get ready. I am not a fan at all. I watch them against my own will most of the time. And then eventually, obviously, I have a list ready. So eventually, it turns out I do like them a little bit. Um, for the most part, I find them pretty cringe. I think my least favorite genre of rom coms are any Jennifer Lopez rom coms. She did like 50 of them in the
Yeah,
in the late 90s. So um, yeah. So once we get through the list, you'll understand a little bit more what I mean as to why I find them lame, but at the same time find them extremely endearing. So
I think this list is going to tell more about ourselves than we'd like people to know, just
I
based on
think
our
so too.
choices. We're going to be telling
I
on
think so
ourselves a
too.
little bit with these lists. Very good. I guess to answer my own question, rom coms have always been on the periphery of the Mike G household. It's never been like sit down and watch this romantic comedy. They just kind of been on. You know what I mean? And as a kid, you didn't know what romance was, so it was just this funny movie that you were watching that happened to have romance in it that you just didn't click until you're an adult, and then you watch them again in different contexts, and it's a completely different experience. So it's fun, kind of walking down memory lane and like finding those dark shadows of your memory and being like, "Oh yeah, I used to love that movie. It's a rom com. That's crazy." So I'm really excited to talk about our lists and just kind of, and you guys are going to get to know us better. So it's going to be very interesting. Are you ready to go down Lover's Lane, Toots?
Let's go. It's a date.
It's a date. Let's go. I brought my walking boots because we about to start walking. Let's go. Oh man, oh geez, I forgot the valet parked the car. No, we'll never make it to the Olive Garden. Sorry, I hate I hate Olive Garden. Never sponsor us, Olive Garden. Here we go. Top 10. No, please sponsor us, Olive Garden. Please, please. I swear to God,
Yeah.
please. Please, Olive Garden. I want all the breadsticks. Please. Um,
Unlimited.
unlimited bread. Unlimited breadsticks. Where's Watch when you need them? Just Emperor Palpatine shooting breadsticks out of his fingers. That's what I need. I'm on Dayquil, people. Top 10 romantic comedies. So let's. You just want to go ahead and jump into our top five, dudes? Let's just do it.
Sure, let's do it.
All right, let's
Do
do
it.
it. Top five, five. Take it away,
Ah,
dudes.
okay, that's me. I'm gonna be the first one. My fifth pick is Serendipity, a film made in 2001. I was This was like my peak year. 17 years old in 2001 was probably the year I peaked in high school. So like I wasn't really cute, but I wasn't ugly, but I was super popular. So this was one of my favorites because it kind of brought me back down a little bit, I suppose, into like, dude, remember you're a girl, because I was athletic and not very good, but I was athletic and I hung out with dudes all the time, and This movie was one of the ones like, oh shit, like, oh, that's really cute. Like, it reminded me I was a girl. One of the ones anyway that made me
Mhm.
realize, oh yeah, hello, like you kind of like this stuff a little bit, like relax. Because at 17, I was into wrestling. I went to SmackDown for my birthday. Like I was a hot mess, in that sense. And my dad was very okay with it. I'm pretty sure my dad probably thought I was gay. Back then, and I wondered if like, and it's so funny that he was like encouraging. He was just like, yeah, wrestling, let's go. Like he was just like cool with
Yeah,
it. I always wondered that. I always wondered if you ever thought like, maybe I was lesbian or something. But yeah. Anyway, back to Serendipity. So this movie is basically about two people who meet by happenstance. They really hit it off. They really like each other. The girl, Miss Kate Beckinsale, shout out Van Helsing. She
that
is
I'm saying.
a little superstitious, a little the universe will bring us together if it's meant to be type thing. So what she does is she writes her phone number in a book, and I can't remember what the book is called, but it was a book I've always wanted to read, and I don't even know if it's real or if it's fiction, if it's just fictional for the film. But anyway, so years later, John Cusack's engaged. He's getting ready to get his plan his wedding and whatnot. He goes and he finds the same book. He finds the book, and he finds the book with her phone number in it. So from that point on, him and oh gosh, I can't remember the actor's name, but he's hilarious. He's a comedian. Anyway, so him and his best friend, they go on this huge like search and they look for her and they find out that, they finally find her and they find out she's engaged to somebody else, but then it's not her. It's they mistake her for somebody else because they only see her from behind. So he's like, oh, it's all over. At the end of the movie, they just happen to both be in the same place. It's the big ice skating rink in New York. I forgot what it's called, but they end up there, a big iconic
Mhm.
tourist attraction. They just happen to both be there at the same time, and they happen to just look in each other's direction. It's like, oh shit. And it's like from that point on, they knew, wow, like this has been this has been the this path is meant to be. Like basically everything that they went through, whether it was pro or con, whether it was towards each other or away from each other, it was meant to be in order for them to find each other. So I thought that was a really smart way to do a rom com, and yeah, that's why it's my number five.
Very beautiful message too. Like if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And I'm sure
Right,
all types of wackiness ensues throughout the movie. And my boy John Cusack is the rom com goat, in my opinion.
for
He
sure.
just he's just
Uh,
so dry. He's just so dry. You know what I mean? And it's just he's so funny without being funny. You know what I mean?
right.
And even though it's been a while since I've seen this film, and this is one that's not necessarily on the old Mike G's radar, but I really do like the idea of them of the Kate Beckinsale character leaving breadcrumbs for him. And if he's meant to find him, he's meant to find him. And by the end of the movie, they meet at that classic roller rink that only existed in the '90s, that giant one. Um, the season finale of Hawkeye had that roller rink where they fought on the ice. Just me being a nerd and having something to tie, something to grab onto.
Pretty I'm
Uh,
pretty sure it's still there, right? It's
it's
still
got to be
there.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
I
yeah,
don't remember what it's called. It's not Times
uh,
Square, it's the other one with the
it's the
tree, with the big Christmas tree.
with the
Yeah,
giant
that one.
Christmas tree. Yeah,
That
yeah,
one,
it's
yeah.
still there. It was in No Way Home, Spider Man.
It
But
was in Home Alone
Saren,
2.
I love Home Alone too. But
Yeah.
yeah, Serendipity. Joan. I'm sure Joan Cusack is in there somewhere, right? She's in every John Cusack movie.
I
Is
think
Joan
she is
Cusack in this
actually.
one?
I think she legit plays his sister or sister-in-law. I could be wrong, but yeah, she's usually in most of his films. And it's Jeremy Piven. Jeremy Piven plays his best friend,
Oh,
who's hilarious in the movie.
yeah. The incomparable Jeremy Piven. You know what I'm saying? So good times.
Incomparable. Yeah.
Incomparable. I am finished. I am fried chicken. Speaking of fried chicken, let's go on to my number five, The Money Pit, starring the incomparable Tom Hanks and Shelley Long. This is 1986. A young couple struggles to repair hopelessly dilapidated home. This is one of those films that I grew up with in my household. This was on all the time. This was one of those tapes, just the tapes you have that you would watch as a kid that your parents would record. and this would be on with RoboCop. This would be on with Masters of the Universe, and I didn't know it was a romantic comedy until I became older and realizing that they were a young couple. I believe they're recently married, newlyweds, and they bought this giant mansion. It looks like the Spencer mansion from Resident Evil, and this mansion just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And their love is tested, and their relationship is tested, and it's so interesting to see just how deep the rabbit hole goes with how much they have to endure. Even in this picture, this is the scene where the roof is leaking so bad that the tub is filled with water. And Tom Hanks just got shocked because he's trying to fix the electricity in the house, and it literally destroyed his clothes. And he's at his wits end, and the sink
The tub falls through the floor.
falls
Yeah.
directly through the floor, and all he could do was laugh. And there goes Shelley Long with a bucket trying to catch some of the water because it's storming outside, and the house is Swiss cheese. You know what I mean? It's just one of those feel good movies, just about a testament of how strong your love has to be to endure something that is almost impossible. And they finally get the house together, but Shelley Long has been so like broken by the house that she just leaves him at the end, but then comes back. You know what I mean? Like in this grand gesture where the whole movie cumulates in this moment, and it's just one of my favorite movies of all time that rarely comes to mind and I rarely get to talk about. You know what I mean? Is this one that
Yes.
you're familiar
Money
with?
Pit. Yeah, of course. Money Pit was a classic. Money Pit was peak Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks was doing back-to-back movies around this time. It's funny you mentioned the movie being on a VHS tape because this movie was on a VHS tape with The Burbs. And I remember my sister wanting to watch Money Pit. I wanted to watch The Burbs, and we would have to fight. And we couldn't watch both because, one movie, because, obviously if you watch two, it's like 4 or 5 hours long for both or whatever. So yeah, like it was The Burbs first, and then Money Pit. My sister would always want to watch Money Pit and not The Burbs. I'm like, all right, but now I mean they're both classics. But yeah, man, like you got me with the VHS tape, everything just being recorded on random videos. Nobody really bought one. You just recorded it.
You just recorded it off HBO. You know what I mean? And you
Yeah,
just had these mountains of tapes that you would just comb through on like a day you're off of school or after you get home from school or on the weekends. So just
right.
really good memories, and just one of my favorite romantic comedies of all time.
Good one. Great pick. Great stuff.
Speaking of a good pick, Toots.
Roxanne, 1987. As a kid, I remember not liking this movie because Steve Martin scared the hell out of me. I think I must have been 3 or 4 years old when this came out. And yeah, his face and his nose was a bit much for me as a kid. Did not like it. I watched it a little bit older. I must have been maybe 12 or 13 years old. And the movie was actually really funny. And then the fact that it's based off of the Cyrano de Bergerac play is really cool because we kind of grew up with that. Bugs Bunny did it. I can't remember. There's several places and several cartoons that we've seen it as children, and then obviously you don't make the connection. But what the movie is about this man named Serrano who's basically substituting his own words for a fellow who falls in love with Daryl Hannah. So he's outside and he's whispering. I Love Lucy did it. He's whispering to him, and she ends up falling in love with everything that he's saying. But obviously, at the end, everybody knows the story. She doesn't fall in love with the fellow who's saying these words. She ends up falling in love with Steve Martin himself, which is beautiful. I think that's the most cutest, most romantic thing because Steve's in love with her, but because of his looks, he's very self conscious. So he ends up, basically using or substituting somebody else to say these words to her. And again, she falls in love with the words. She doesn't fall in love with the man saying them physically. So it's just pretty interesting how, again, almost like serendipity, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. So yeah, this movie ended up being extremely cute once I got over his ridiculous prosthetic on his face. But yeah, Roxanne 1987 is one of my favorites for sure.
It's funny you mentioned like being afraid of him because I was afraid of him as a child. He was very intimidating. I don't know what something about him. I didn't like it. It was like uncanny valley,
You
I
know what it
guess.
is? Yes, because it was his young face and his old hair. I think it had to be.
it was the nose, and he did this thing where he would drink champagne with his nose. He would stick his nose in the champagne and drink it. You know what I'm saying? And that just weirded me
I just
out. I
mean
didn't
all
like it.
around. In all his other movies, I was always unsettled by him, and I really do think it had to do with the fact that he's very young looking, he's very youthful
But he had
looking,
the
but his hair,
silver hair.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that was it. He hasn't aged to me. He's what, 70 something right now? He hasn't aged. It's
he's
weird.
living his best life. He's playing like banjo and stuff. Steve Martin is living his best life. This is another one that was on. This is one of my mother's favorite movies. So this was on a lot. This is speaking of tapes. This was on the tape with. You ever seen Witches of Eastwick
Yeah,
Jack Nicholson? This was on that tape. It was. Oh, I remember it. It was Witches of Eastwick, Roxanne, and Witches with Angelica Houston, where she turned the little kid into mice. That was a creepy, creepy tape. Scarier than Rawhead
that's a
Rex.
good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
I had to squeeze in a Rawhead Rex reference where it doesn't
Here we
belong.
go.
But I love Roxanne because, like you said, it's a play on Cyrano de Bergerac, right? And it's the guy who doesn't feel so attractive, but it's also has, trying to take a shot at a girl he feels like that's out of his league. And I think a lot of us can relate to that. You know what I mean? Trying to speak to someone or have your friend help you speak to someone that you don't think you ever have a chance with. And just, I think one thing we all have to learn is that, if you can make her smile, you probably get a kiss. You know what I mean? And that's just like, and none of us, that never clicks into our brains, when we're trying to play the dance of romance. Um, and Roxanne is just like the perfect encapsulation of the words working more than the looks, the words resonating more than the external. And I think that gives a
Mhm.
lot of strength to those who feel maybe less than because of the way they look. So this, like, once again, this is a movie, 1987, is one that I grew up with. This is definitely on all the time. So this is a great pick. And we didn't coordinate on this. So it's just like how, it's kind of interesting. The things that were on in our houses, worlds apart, but still resonated with us. That's super cool.
Yeah, I agree.
Very cool. All right.
You're number 4.
My number 4, Jesus. Um, no one knows what this is, first of all. This is a Mike G special. No one knows what this is. And I'm going to have to explain myself on this one. This is My Demon Lover, 1987. This is one of my earliest memories, core memory, like 4 years old. I remember watching this film. And it's about a homeless street musician who's a horn dog. And he's just like picking up girls, riding on the subway, playing his saxophone, being a complete dick, right? But he talks to the wrong one. And she curses him with the Kavorka, the curse of the Kavorka. And it makes him turn into a demon whenever he's aroused on any level. So anytime he meets a girl, he just demons out. And it's a different transformation every single time. And the reason I thought this movie was so cool as a kid, because it was funny, but it was also horror because it was scary. The demon was actually creepy. The makeup was really good. So as a kid, it was mixing like that horror with the comedy. And it was the one that my mom would let me watch because even though it was like sexually charged, there was no sex, there was no nudity, it was nothing like that. It was just the insinuation, you know what I mean? And it was cool because he had to fight another dude at the end who also had the Kavorka. And there was a Kavorka battle with two demons fighting at the end. But he he meets this girl who's like trying to work with him through the Kavorka. Like she's into him, but she can't handle when he turns into a demon because he becomes completely unhinged. He becomes like the mask, almost like his id unleashed, and it's too much for her to handle. But she's also dating another guy who's like a exec. He's like super rich and he's real smooth and suave, but he's also a demon, just funny enough. And they're fighting over her. And it's this guy's pure of heart that cures him of the cure, and they live happily ever after. And this is just one of those early core memories of a film that Probably should have not been watching. This is right up there with Hellraiser, right? But it's just one of those that was on at the time. Was it's just and when we did this list, this is the first thing that came to mind, other than my number one. I was like, I have to talk about My Demon Lover, and my dad would watch this with me as a kid, and we would both crack up, and he would alleviate the fear by making it funny, and that's how I kind of got into horror. My dad was really good at alleviating fear with comedy, which is why half the movies I watch I laugh at. And this was one of those. So My Demon Lover is my number four. Do you still have anything to say about this turbo hidden gem that nobody knows about?
So this is absolutely 1,000% Mike G. Core. No, you're absolutely right. I've never heard of this film, but what an interesting concept. It's almost a little bit ahead of its time. He's cursed with this thing where he can't have sex either way because of the way he treats people when he does or whatnot. So I mean, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool idea. And I mean,
Yeah.
as far as it being horror, I can't imagine like he tries to murder people or anything,
No,
right?
he just looks scary. He just looks scary,
Yeah.
and he just turns into the mask. He's a big horn dog. He's
Yeah,
hollering
it
at the
does have
moon.
mask
Cartoon
vibes.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, cartoon stuff. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
fun.
I
I
suppose I can check it out, but
please do.
yikes. All
The
right.
name alone is just out of control, and as you could, my house wasn't too. Um, what's the word I'm looking for? Was it too um holier than thou to say get that demon stuff out of here? But outside of the name, outside of the overall premise, it's good old family fun. I love this movie.
So is this like a B movie? Because when I was looking it up, um, I didn't recognize any of the actors at all.
No,
Is it like an
there,
indie film or?
it's not an indie film. It's like there's a lot of actors who didn't make it. Like the guy in this movie, the main guy, his name escapes me. He was like the boyfriend in A Facts of Life. He came from the
Okay,
Facts
so
of
he's
Life,
one of okay.
and all the actors are like '80s actors. Think of like Three Men and a Baby, but directed by Sam Raimi. It's this film. And it's just like everybody in this movie didn't make it, but in the '80s they just fit just right. It was a full production. But yeah,
All right.
I love this movie. Highly recommend it to anybody out there looking to have a laugh and just try to get to and you will get to know Mike G a little bit more by watching this joint. Jeez. We're at
Definitely a
number
you
three.
movie, that's for sure.
Definitely
Okay,
like you said, Mike Core.
for sure. Mike G. Court, like all the way. There's no doubt. In fact, I'm gonna probably look up some clips and I'm gonna see it's all you. Like once I, you know what I mean? Like there's just certain clips in certain movies. It's like, oh my god, Mikey would love this. You know?
Yep.
So yeah, I can't imagine. All right, so my number three, 1997's My Best Friend's Wedding. I think me and my best friend, when we were in high school, we wore this movie out. She liked it more than I did, so we kind of watched it because she wanted to watch it all the time. Um, not that I didn't like it. I actually loved it, and it's one of my favorite memories in high school. I think we just there was like 1 or 2 summers that we just melted away just watching this movie on loop practically. Um, this movie is about two best friends of female and male, Julia Roberts and Dermot Mulroney, um, who have this pact, like they, hey, I'm single, you're single. If we stay single for this amount of time, we'll get together. Blah blah. Ha ha ha. So funny. Um, yeah, so they end up, reuniting with each other. It turns out he's engaged to be married to Cameron Diaz. And what's great about this movie is Cameron Diaz isn't the bitch, isn't the villain, isn't the rival. She's actually extremely pleasant in this movie. You have no choice but to like her. She did an amazing job in this role to the point where like you're like, oh no, I'm on Julia Roberts' side, but Cameron Diaz is really cool. You know what I mean? So like you don't want Julia Roberts to break up a relationship, but you also know that they're meant to be together. And Cameron Diaz and Dermot really aren't. They don't mesh very well. Not that there's anything wrong with them, but they just don't mesh completely like these two do. Excuse me. But it's funny because like they're building up to Cameron Diaz's and Dermot's wedding, and so the cat's out of the bag. Julia spills his love, and I don't remember if Cameron Diaz hears it or she just hears about it, and she's devastated because I think Julie Roberts is actually supposed to be a bridesmaid. Um, I At the end of the movie, gosh, now it's so funny. It's like I'm drawing a blank as to whether they get together or not, but I feel like they don't because I remember like the end. She's literally her bridesmaid, and they're walking down the aisle, and they get married, and like they make their peace and whatnot. But it's just that was one of those movies that if it was made today, they would have made it a lot more toxic and a lot more complicated. So it was just done wholesomely. It was done like accidentally in a sense where it's like, well, I didn't mean to stay in love with you. I didn't mean to, fall in love with you. I don't want this to happen, but here we are. You know what I mean? It wasn't driven by this hatred for Cameron Diaz or driven by this malice to destroy other people's lives and whatnot. Um, One of the classic scenes in this movie is they're all sitting at a pre-wedding brunch, and then Julia Roberts' boyfriend, who's there with her, who's actually another good friend of hers. He plays a gay fella in the movie, and I can't remember what his name is, but he's a prominent actor as well. But he breaks the tension of whatever's going on in that room by pretending to be in love with Julia Roberts, and the way he does that is he sings. I think it's an Aretha Franklin song.
Say a little prayer for
Say
you.
a little prayer.
Yeah, say a little prayer for
It's
you.
an iconic scene. It's an iconic scene in movies in general, but like that scene, that's absolutely unforgettable. Everybody's singing along to it. Again, like I said, really, really wholesome. And again, you don't want to watch something, especially if you've been cheated on or if you had toxic or complicated relationships. You don't want to watch something that's going to trigger anything like that. And this movie was ahead of its time in that it didn't do anything like that. I don't think it triggered people into, oh, how dare her, what a bitch, blah blah blah. Really, everything, like I said, was built up and structured in a way where it was gentle and, again, like I said, accidental. So yeah, really well done movie, really brilliant and super super cute.
Man, yeah, my best friend's wedding. If I remember correctly, this was one of those movies that was like a summer blockbuster. This was huge back when it first
Yeah, this
came
was a
out,
big
right?
deal. Yeah, this
Yeah,
was a big deal.
Julia Roberts, I think coming off Pretty Woman, just really taking the world by storm. Say a Little Prayer for You was like one of those songs that was on the radio all the time after this movie came out. I remember it
Right.
very vividly. But to speak toward the movie, yeah, just that feeling of, I didn't mean for this to happen, but here we are. It's something I think is extremely relatable. We've all probably been in one or two relationships where it just kind of fell haphazardly into a situation, and now you both have to deal with it. Everybody involved has to deal with it, and a lot of times it doesn't. It ends up happily ever after, but sometimes it doesn't. And I like movies that play with that, dance that line, and I like the idea of Cameron Diaz not being, like you said, the antagonist, the snobby, I'm not going to say the word, but witchy, wife that's trying to. No, she is the most likable person on earth. So you're really torn with, like, man, I want Julie Roberts to win, but she deserves it too. So it makes you feel conflicted. It's just one of those things
Yeah.
that is hot,
She's
very
cute and
relatable.
she's bubbly and yeah, it's so cute. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you're
Absolutely.
on mute still. Oh, okay, there
Sorry,
you are.
I'm trying to
It's
not
okay.
cough into the mic.
You're fine. I get it. I totally understand. I'm sure the nerd of us understands. You're fine.
Thank you, guys. Um, Please understand, we're just going to keep talking about Cameron Diaz, because my
Oh,
number
there you go.
three
Nice. Cool.
is There's Something About Mary, which is another one of those movies that was at the absolute right time of my life, where I was just starting to like girls, 1998. Where it's like, oh, they don't have cooties. You know what I mean? Was that a mental awakening? You know what I mean? And this was one of those movies that was so funny, that was so commanding of the time, and just the Fairley Brothers' first film, I want to say, I think. Um, a man who plays Ben Stiller, who plays the biggest dork on the world, but is also, I believe he knows Mary through like his is like this foster parents or something like that because his dad is black. His dad is Keith David, if I remember correctly, in that movie. Am I misremembering that? And they're going to go to prom together,
I
but
don't remember.
he accidentally gets his balls zipped between his zipper before prom night, and it ruins any chance he had at Mary. Franks and beans is the joke that would always, his older brother would scream. And many, 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 many years later, um, the Ben Stiller character finds his path back meeting almost serendipitously meeting Mary, and she's engaged with the biggest jerk in the world, played by damn it, I can't remember his name, the gentleman from Wild Things. And he's a jerk and he's conning her, but she can't see it because she's in love. And her ex boyfriend's Brett Favre, and it's just this big fun romp that goes back to that feeling you have where it's like, I will never. This girl is too perfect. What am I supposed to do? How do I compete with everyone else who's after Mary? And Mary is just this perfect like elf floating through the garden. You know what I mean? And Ben Stiller's trying his damnness to impress her, to get back with her, go on dates with her, things like that, get to know her better. It's just one of those rom coms that I just can never. It's one of those that was on all the time, and we would scream Franks and Beans on the playground. You know what I mean, all the time, and just tell all the jokes. Is she really going out with him? You just felt it, right? Because at that time, of course, the girl you like is with the jerk, and that on the bungalows, and you just encapsulate that feeling of crap. I'm just not. This is not for me. But yeah, something about Mary, 1998, just goaded rom com. I'm surprised. Outside of the other two movies, it was a fight for number one for me.
I like how this movie really plays into the first date jitters. Anything
Yeah,
that can go wrong went wrong for him. Both times, both first dates that he was, potentially supposed to impress Mary. Yeah,
yeah,
but stuff that he went through, it's not out of the realm of possibility from happening, which probably makes it even so much more funnier now, given the dating world is just a little bit more. I don't know if the word is trendy, but there's a lot more single people now than there were even just in 1998. Everybody was already booed up. Nowadays, like in our 30s and our 40s, I think there's a vast amount of people that are more single and in the dating scene than they are, in a serious relationship. So there's anxiety to be, to give out. We have it in droves when we try to go on these dates, especially today, especially with technology the way it is, and everything and anything can go viral. You don't know if you're being recorded. You don't know. There's so much now that weighs over us in the dating world. Not me, I don't date. In the dating world, that this movie can probably, like, I think if I went back and rewatched this, it's probably 10 times funnier, given my own personal experiences. You know what I mean? I haven't watched it since we were kids. But yeah, great movie, hilarious from beginning to end. Also, side note, 1998 is arguably the year when rap was at its purest.
I
Just so you
can't
guys
do.
know.
I can't do a Rawhead Rex meme, but you know what? You're right. You're right. You're right. 1998 is when hip hop was at its purest. You know what? I'm not gonna fight you, Tootie Odin. You're making me yell. I
Shout
can't
out
yell.
Bradley. Shout out Gurr.
No shout out, Gurr. This is not.
Okay, my bad.
This
My
is
bad.
not
All right,
Masters of the.
reel
This
it
is not.
in.
This is not Masters of the Girdiverse. Not tonight. Not on this lovely evening.
Reeling it in, baby.
Not on this lovely
That's funny.
evening. Number two. We're getting close
Ah,
too.
my number two. Oh my goodness. My number two it was almost my number one. Okay. 10 Things I Hate About You, 1999, Heath Ledger, Julia Stiles, shout out Joker, or whatever, Dark Knight. Heath Ledger was a brilliant Joker. But before that, he was a heartthrob, especially in this movie. Good God, he was insanely gorgeous. This movie has several iconic scenes, so much so that they are parodied in other movies, like the I guess like scary movie, but not scary movie. I forgot what the movie's called. Not another teen movie, I think is what it's called. Um, but yeah, this movie is about and it's a tell us all the time, to be honest. Hot high school dude asks bitchy high school broad out. She never dates. She doesn't like boys. In a sense, like she just has no time for it. She's extremely intelligent. Kind of reminds me of somebody else I know who doesn't like dealing with people who are just full of bullshit. But that's her. She's a no bullshit person, and she sticks to it. But the only reason why there's motive behind him dating her is because another fella in high school wants to date her younger sister, younger, hotter sister. So in order for Bianca to date, she Julia Stiles, I don't remember her name in the movie, but she has to be able to find somebody. So he basically gets paid to pretend to be in love with her. She actually ends up falling in love with him. She finds out about the plan, and and obviously they that everything blows up from there. But the way he woos her is amazing. The iconic scene outside on the football field where he sings "You're just too good to be true," and then he gets chased off by the security guards, and it's hilarious. I think it's that moment exactly that she's like, "All right, I'll fuck with him." You know what I mean? Like I think it was there that she made the decision. Yeah, I kind of want this guy. Um, there's another scene where she goes to this house party because she gets invited, and everybody's Cat. Her name's Cat. Everybody's blown away that she's there. Like what is she doing here? Because like I said, she's a hard ass. She ends up getting wasted. The iconic scene where she white girl twerks on the table, and it's just great. Dude, this movie is filled with scene after scene after scene of icon. The one where what's his name? I know my friend Alex who quotes this all the time, but the golf kid, and they have this party at the mansion, and he just wants cheese and crackers, but then this hot everybody ends up showing up. I can't remember the line. I wish I wrote it down. But it's that there's like a classic iconic line that he says right before he opens the door. Oh, he says, I believe that's so and so with the brie, and I can't remember the guy's name, but yeah, that's the line. Um, yeah, this movie's back to back iconic scenes for sure. Well, obviously one of my favorites, and it actually legit made me cry, believe it or not, and still makes me cry to this day because when we were researching this and I was finding reels for MOTN, the scene where she reads the poem, when she reads the 10 things I hate about you poem. I hate the way you look at me. I hate the way you talk, or whatever she says, and then at the end, she says, but most of all, I hate the way I don't hate you, not even a little bit, not even close, not even at all. And she's saying it
Mhm.
as she's crying. I'm getting chills thinking about it. Oh my God.
Oh.
And she's broken. She's absolutely broken as she's saying this to him. It's like, bro, you fucked up. And then he realizes it. He realizes like, oh shoot, like what is my problem? And my God, like, oh my, why am I getting emotional? But yeah, it's beautiful. It's really weird that it's high school kids, but at the same time, it kind of fits, right? Your first
Yeah.
love,
Your first
your
love.
first love is the one that hurts the most.
Yep.
So like the fact that the relationship that they had, be it fake, be it real, brought this confidence about her to actually be bold enough to go up and express her feelings in front of her classmates, in front of her teacher, obviously in front of him. Like that's a confidence booster. Like she probably wouldn't have done that if she never really experienced something like that. You know what I mean? Like that's a bold ass move for somebody to do, to say I freaking love you, dude. And I don't care who knows it. I don't care how soft it makes me look. I don't, she just threw it all on the table. She became as vulnerable as possible as somebody who was seen as stuck up, ice queen. So yeah, that's probably for sure one of my favorites. It was really neck and neck with my number one. So yeah, I love this movie.
Yeah. Isn't this film based off of Taming of the Shrew?
Oh yeah, well yeah it is, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what's funny is I didn't even realize that. So that means anytime the story is done, because it's been done several times.
Like you said, yeah.
Yeah, you're right, dude. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that. No shit.
Yeah. This was one of
Huh.
those that was, I've never seen this film, to be completely transparent.
What?
But it's one of those that was because Julia Stiles was so big in the 99 2000s. It was definitely one of those where every single girl was this was their movie. They loved this movie, man. They loved Julia Stiles, and like you said, everyone loved Heath Ledger. Rest in peace. And he was indeed that dreamboat. You know what I mean? And as someone who's tamed a few shrews in his career, you know what I'm saying? I definitely um
Gross.
tamed a few shrews. No, that's just, yeah. But no, just saying that sometimes, the diamond is in the rough. And that's kind of what my encapsulation of this idea is that it's not always the person that you're going to love the most with all your heart and soul isn't always the bubbly, cheery, you know what I mean, just positive machine. Sometimes you find someone who's at a place where they don't want to be bothered, especially with you. But then you have to turn, you have to turn on the charm and figure it out. You know what I mean? And coming
Oh
out the other
God.
side of that, you know, you feel it makes things when you it makes things feel better when you've had to work for it and you have to build trust and build a
I
relationship
agree with that.
and
I
and go
definitely agree
through
with that.
something. And I think
I agree with
that's
that.
that's the lesson I take away from Taming of the Shrew. That's a lesson I take away from this film is that not all things that come easy to you aren't necessarily good for you. It's the things you have to work toward and build that will sustain your relationship for all time. You know what I mean? So I'm getting emotional. What the hell? I haven't even seen this damn movie. Dang it. Uh,
It's so good.
stop that. Stop that 10 things I hate about you. Good thing I'm wearing glasses. Quit it. Oh, man.
Quit
Good
it,
stuff,
you.
Toots. Quit it, you. Number two.
You're number two.
Jesus. Oh, man. 2000. High Fidelity. Rob, record store owner, compulsive list maker, recounts his top 5 breakups, including one that's currently in process. This film was therapy for me, honestly. When this film hit my radar, it wasn't 2000, it was way later in my life. And honestly, I had just gone through an amazingly tragic breakup at this time. And I was trying to soul search and figure out myself and figure out the world. And this movie just kind of hit my doorstep about a man who just broke up with his girlfriend over some bullshit. It wasn't even like anything complete. He was a flake. Is the biggest problem, and he never reflected into himself to see that he was a flake. So he did everything but self reflect. So he would go to his record store that he owned with Jack Black, and they were audio files, and it was this great soundtrack that just kind of led through the film. And he would like boastfully talk about his top 5 breakups of all time and name these women that he had relationships with and what happened with them. One was the earthy flower child, one was his high school crush, one was his college, his college love, and like why they left him. You know what I mean? And the current relationship that he was with I think her name was Beth, and she was really sweet and just really wanted him to get his shit together and try to be more ambitious in life. But he was so tied into what someone else was doing that he kept deflecting rather than reflecting. So she left his ass. She left him right there. And she started dating some other guy that he hated. He absolutely hated. But the other guy was doing right by her. I think it was played by who played that character? It was like a real actor, like an actual actor in this film. And this movie is so sad, but also
Brian
so
Washington?
Brian Wash.
Sorry.
It was played by the Jedi counselor himself. Bastard. I love that guy. But this movie really walked me through one of the worst times of my life. Like I watched it over and over and learned something every single time I watched it and listened to the soundtrack. And he started dating Lisa Bonet and they were having fun, but she had no intention of taking things seriously, but he wanted to take things seriously, which made him once again reflect back into himself and find out that he was the problem throughout the entire time. It's the way he was approaching relationships. He was the problem. And once he realized that, he finally went to his Beth and just kind of laid it all bare. You know what I mean? It just said, I know this, you're happy with so and so, and there's nothing I can do about that. But just this is epiphany. I just want to let you know I found within myself. And because he was finally honest with her, she actually gave him a second shot and they actually rekindled their relationship. So out of all the movies on this list, this is the most personal to me. This is the most like closest to my heart because I could relate to him so much, more than any comic book character, more than any superhero. I related to this guy because it's like, yeah, what are you doing? What can you do to better yourself and thus better those around you? High Fidelity, man, is such a sucker punch. I was not expecting it to hit me the way it did. At the time it did, but God doesn't make mistakes, and he put this in my life just to balance me out when I needed it. So not to serious this out, but High Fidelity is really just soul food for me.
I believe they call that serendipity. Nice callback.
That
um,
was
can I tell you something? I've never fully, from beginning to end, seen this movie ever. I've seen it in clips. I've seen it in, snippets and whatnot. I did not know that this movie was that deep. To be honest, I remember the iconic "I have a radio over my head." I remember plenty of Cartoon Network cartoons did the same exact thing. So that's the only reason why I really know that scene. This is the first time I'm hearing this part of it. I don't think we've ever spoken about how personal
no,
anything like this would be to you. So this is the first I'm hearing of that. Um, it sounds really, really deep, and honestly, like I couldn't imagine. I can't imagine being in a position where it's like, well, like your automatic thought isn't, well, what's wrong with me? Maybe that's the whole point of the movie. When you have a breakup, you think, well, what a bitch, or how dare you, blah blah blah. You never go here.
we
Or
never go
we, I
in.
should say, we never go here. What did I do, and what can I do next time to fix it? You know what I mean? So dang, that's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Yeah,
I'm not perfect. I for sure probably have pointed the finger and said "f you" like many times. This is you, not me. You know what I mean? Instead of like reflecting as to what could I have done differently to maybe change things, even if it didn't work out. What could I have done differently to change things? You know what I mean? That's a heavy question to ask yourself, or
yeah,
for us to ask ourselves. So dang, dude, I guess like this is gonna be on the list too. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Because
It's
I never considered High Fidelity to be a rom com movie, to be honest, because I didn't
yeah,
know exactly what. Like, I don't consider Punch Drunk Love to be a rom com either, but it kind of is, right? So yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll put this on the list. I guess I gotta watch it. Also, I didn't know it came out in the year 2000. That's late. I thought it
yeah,
was a
2000.
1990, 91 movie in the year
Nah,
2000.
2000. No, this. Please understand. This movie is hilarious. Jack Black's in it. He's yucking it up. John Cusack's the goat. It's tons of funny shit, but it's just so. It hit me right when my life bar was blinking red, and I was just about to be taken out. This movie came in and took me all the way to 1%, and then healed me all the way back to 100%. It really was
Wow.
what I needed at a very dark
Yeah.
time. It just made me realize who I was, what I was doing, and what I can do better. I love this movie. It's up there with Revolver as one of the movies that really changed the way I think about life. Just
Same.
the way I approach life is this movie.
Revolver for sure. Wow.
Shout
Wow.
out to Revolver. Yeah. Oh, I highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. Jeez, this movie is something else. We're at number ones.
I'll get on it.
Toots.
We're at our number ones. Let's go. My
Let's
number
go.
one, of course. Why would it not be The Wedding Singer, baby? This movie, everybody knows this movie. Like, I don't really have to explain the plot of this film. All I really want to say is they were cones, because I have been saying it since almost every day since this movie came out. Um, yeah, Wedding Singer is amazing. Like, it's a quotable movie, and it still has an amazing story. Adam Sandler does such an amazing job at being charming. He does such an amazing job at like being the funny man that you fall in love with. You know what I mean? He's very attractive at the same time, but is he attractive because he's funny? You know what I mean? So it's like one of those thinkers. Like, wait, do I just like funny guys, or is he cute? But yeah, this movie's super super charming, super endearing. Drew Barrymore is absolutely adorable in this film. Um, Billy Idol cameos in it. Oh my God, Billy
Yeah.
Idol's in it. Like, it's so
On the
great, especially at the
airplane.
end. Boy, yeah, on the airplane. Yeah, so everybody knows the movie. Everybody knows the plot. He's a wedding singer. He's kind of jaded by love after his fiance jilts him at the altar. Drew Barrymore set to get married to what's his name, Glenn Gulia. and her name will if they get married, her name will be Julia Gulia, and it's so funny because it's like a running joke in the movie. Uh, um, so yeah, so they know they like each other, but they know they can't. So throughout the whole movie, like from the moment they meet, it's like, oh shit, like he's cool. I like him. You know what I mean? Kind of like how the way you kind of just accidentally meet somebody, you vibe. You meet somebody at work, they're kind of cool. You know what I mean? And then the only thing that complicates it is like they're both in really gross relationships. Like I said, she's with a douche, and he's with this. I don't know what her deal is. Just she's just afraid. She doesn't want to commit. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
What was her name? Linda. At
Linda.
Linda. Yeah, at Linda. Yo, a bitch. Yeah. Um, yes, this movie's amazing. At the end, when he sings I'll even let you hold the remote control. I actually played that song on my guitar, by the way. I love that song so much.
Yeah.
Very, very, very fun, very endearing. And again, like it's not for me, these rom-coms, I can't say that I can relate to them. It's like, oh, I wish that was me, or I want that to be me, or whatever. But at the same time, it's like you feel exactly what she feels. You feel the special, and you feel the warmth in your cockles. How he's walking towards her slowly as he's playing the guitar, and she's deep in his eyes as she sits in her airplane seat, and he's looking right back at her. He's smiling, this gorgeous, cute little tiniest smile as he's singing to her, and it's like, yeah, like they sealed the deal right then and there. Like they know, and it took so much. It's one of those classic. I need to get to the airport right away scenes. They had one of those, so he does. He gets to the airport. He gets on the plane. He catches her, and then they finally fall in love. Um, Shout out to his brother George in this film, who was played by what was his name? What is his name? And may he rest in peace. Arquette. No disrespect to not remembering his first name, but dude rocked it as George. He's probably one of the best parts of the movie. There's probably a lot of iconic characters in the movie. Um, but yeah, loved it. I love Wedding Singer. I don't think there's anything that's going to top this, only because this movie lives with me every day. The Wedding Singer literally lives with me every day because I'm quoting it for whatever reason, sometimes for
Hmm.
no reason. So yeah, this is my number one, and it'll stay that way until I fall in love with another one.
Damn. The Wedding Singer,
Loyalty,
man.
loyalty, loyalty.
Loyalty, loyalty, loyalty. Jesus. The Wedding Singer
Go
is
ahead.
the perfect rom com, isn't it? It's just the perfect rom com, right? It's like the sweetest, most simple story of all time. And this is where you start to get hints that, man, this Adam Sandler kid can really act. Like you start
For
seeing
sure.
the acting poking through the comedy.
For
And
sure.
I always say, like, comedians have a really good through record of being great actors. Robin Williams, Tom Hanks, Jim Carrey. These comedians always find a good way to be very good dramatic actors. And him working against I've always loved Drew Barrymore. She's just been so sweet forever. You know what I mean? And her being you know, his object of affection and desire in this film is just remarkable. This is another one that wasn't really on my radar. I've only seen it like once or twice. You know what I mean? It's just one of those that just one of those that wasn't on. You know what I'm saying? That just wasn't on in the house. You know what I mean? And by 1998, I was already kind of like in my own brain somewhere. But this is when I
You were
want to
probably
grow
making really,
old.
really good hip hop at the time,
Yeah, because
that
as we
year.
all know, 1998 is when hip hop was at its purest. This
Thank
is
you.
this is facts. You know, and while hip hop was being at its purest, The Wedding Singer was being at its purest, being the quintessential rom com of all time. Even I know the scene where Billy Idol punches out the guy on the airplane. You know what I mean? And it's so classic, and he's such a badass. And it's like, what? Billy Idol rules, dude. You know what I mean? This was when Adam Sandler could do no wrong.
Nobody talks to Billy Idol that way.
Nobody talked to Billy Idol
Sorry,
that way.
sorry.
No, this is like it's like Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, The Wedding Singer. This is like that little trifecta of just Adam Sandler domination, where he couldn't do no wrong. You know what I mean? And I think this was him, like I said, dipping his toe into that real actor, not comedy, like actor direction. And you can see it clear as day in this film. Absolutely.
Well, I'll tell you this: comedians, they every single time they go on stage, they're acting. You'll very rarely find a comedian off stage who's just naturally funny. A lot of
Hmm.
them practice and they have to work for it. So they are essentially acting every single time they go on stage. The second you see a comedian off stage, they're really sad and depressed. They're Eeyore mode, like almost immediately. Ah, that set sucked. I could have done better. Like they turn it off so fast. You don't even you're not even talking to the same person. It's like, come on, be funny. Say something funny.
Come
Once they're off stage,
on.
it's over. Yeah. It's really weird. So I think I agree with you. I think you're right that for some reason comedians have a natural ability to have range when it comes to acting. They don't have to be the funny guy all the time. And you're right that Adam Sandler proved that super super heavily in this film. He got serious. He got his feelings got hurt. Um, his classic Adam Sandler shouting when he's upset was prominent in the film for sure, and that's Adam Sandler to a T. But like you said, there's the other side, the softer side, the side of you know what, I gotta take this serious. You know what, um, like the scene where he's sitting on the porch and he's talking to his brother-in-law, and his nephew comes in and he brings him a picture of Freddy Krueger, but it's Linda because she, like I said, she jilted him at the altar. So he goes, it's not very nice, very creative though, and he gives it back to him. It's one of my favorite scenes because it's so casual the way he says, excuse me, the way he says it. Um, yeah, it's just adorable. It's just very adorable because that's Adam Sandler. I don't even know if it's him acting or if it's just him being himself. And I
Hmm.
think that's what makes a great actor is a great actor can make it look natural for
Yep.
sure, like hands down. And I say it all the time. Actually, it's not very nice, but very creative though. I say it all the time because it's a good line. It's a good
Yeah.
line. You're rebuking the child, but also encouraging the child. It's so
At the same
charming and
time.
so cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Amazing.
love this movie. No regrets. Definitely my number one. Let's do your number one. I'm ready.
Number one, Mike's G's number one rom com of all time is none other
All
than
time.
The Princess Bride,
Oh yay.
1987. The perfect movie, if I could say so without hyperbole. The perfect love story, the perfect fairy tale. It's just, this movie is a warm blanket. It is, once again, a movie that was on in my house all the time.
Same here.
You're Mike. I'm literally the sick kid under the covers wishing his grandfather would read him a story right now. You know what I mean? And this movie is such a revelation to me just because it's everything. It's everything. This movie is so perfect. And I will give it to Wedding Singer. Wedding Singer is a better romantic comedy because it focuses on the romance and the comedy. But this is also a very romantic movie that has a ton of comedy in it. I quote this movie all the time. Whenever
Hmm.
Toots is going somewhere, I say, "Have fun storming the castle." I say it, you know what I mean? All US's, worlds of unusual size. I don't think they exist. And then it pops out and
I'm
gets him. You
sorry.
know what I mean?
I don't know how many times when we were younger you would exile me to the bog of eternal stench.
Yes, you would have to
For
go to the
one.
bog of eternal stench.
Yeah, I would have to go to the
Boo!
bog of eternal stench.
You
And
know
also
the old
boo!
boo.
Boo! Yeah. Remember we
Yeah,
would always
don't you
boo? Yeah.
love? Yeah, we would always boo. This movie, how can I
Boo.
put it? This movie's a love story. Um, it's about young poor Wesley being a stablemate for Princess Buttercup, and he's broke and he's just living in crap, and he absolutely loves the princess but can never have her. So anytime she would ask him to do something, he would say, "As you wish," and that's all he would say to her, "As you wish." And he realized he can't stay here forever, so he ended up leaving, being a stable boy, went out into the world and became the Dread Pirate Roberts, which was the best legendary pirate of all time. And he finds himself in the middle of a situation where, fast forward into the future, Princess Buttercup is going to marry um, Princess Humperdinck. You just remember the names, and she gets kidnapped. Yeah, Princess Humperdinck kidnaps her because he wants to take over her land, and he was going to
Prince
kill her.
Humperdinck.
Princess Humperdinck. Prince Humperdinck. I'm so sick.
That's the
Um,
2025 version.
wow, stop it. But Jesus. But Wesley finds out that this is all going on, and he hijacks the kidnapping. Inconceivable. And has one of the best sword fights of all time. And it's just a story about a man whose love transcended everything. He came back to life for her. You know what I mean? He died because he went into the machine, not to 50. He turned the death machine to 50 and killed him. And he had to be brought back with the chocolate that I wanted as a kid. This movie is just. Did you want that chocolate, the little chocolate medicine they gave
Yeah,
him?
hell yeah. Hell yeah.
True
Of course it's the
love.
chocolate. Billy Crystal, amazing in this
Billy
movie,
Crystal.
by the way. Unrecognizably amazing. Thank you.
Like
Also, you
tomatoes
know
with
what I love
salad.
about this movie? Uh, the love story is solid, but then there's two side stories. One with Fred Savage and his grandpa reading The Princess Bride, the other with Inigo Montoya wanting his revenge. This
Yes.
movie has
My
everything.
my name is Inigo Montoya. You've killed my father.
You killed my
Prepare to
father.
die.
Prepare to die.
The six-fingered man, dog. When I was a kid, I would go
Yeah, the
around looking
six
for the
fingered man.
six-fingered man, dog. You know what I'm
Bro, that dude
saying?
creeped me out. I hated seeing that thing.
Because
Like,
you see
oh,
his
like
hand,
why? Yeah,
Andre
I hated it. Yeah.
Andre the Giant as the
Andre the
tender
freaking
loving.
giant baby.
You know what I'm saying? This movie is perfect. This is a perfect movie. This is honestly top 3 movies of all time. Like I unceremoniously love this movie. This was when we thought of doing rom-coms outside of My Demon Lover, this was the second thing that came to mind. Because it was like Princess Bride. I get a reason to talk about the Princess Bride. And because when am I going to be able to talk about it? So it's just like
It's an
this
amazing
is
pick. Oh
one of my
yeah.
favorite. I'm gonna watch it tonight as I sit in bed with my Robitussin and my giant bottle of water. I'm gonna watch The Princess Bride and think about a love that lasts all for all time. You know what I mean? Grandpa, can you read it to me again tomorrow night?
Oh,
You know?
I
Oh my
love that.
goodness.
I love that
That,
very much. That was a fun. That was fun. That was a lot of fun. That was
that
a fun
was
list. Your picks were solid. They were very Mike G, which I loved. You're right. A Princess Bride's probably number one rom com of all time. I can't disagree with
no.
that, to be honest.
I
Yeah.
honestly I would choose, like I said, for rom com. I think The Wedding Singer takes it for being a pure romantic comedy. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just the perfect. I want to grow old with you. You know what I mean? It just
Mhm.
gets you right, like you said, in the cockles, right in the jejunum.
Right in the
But
cockles, baby.
right in the cockles. But like the Princess Bride is just childhood. Like you understand the love as a kid. You understand the love as a teenager. You understand the love
Very
as an
true.
adult.
Yeah.
It transcends time and space. This movie. And if you've never seen The Princess Bride, I beg you to watch it. You will have a good time.
Mm,
You know what I mean? It's my
absolutely.
one of my favorite movies of all time. Toots.
Absolutely. Did you want to jump into honorable mentions at all?
Yes, I have a couple. So you go
Okay.
first.
Cool. Okay, I'll go first. One of mine was Princess Bride, so that's beautiful, beautiful segue. I would have made the list. I don't really have a real reason as to why I didn't, except for the fact that I watched these other movies more, as like viewed it more, I should say. She's All That, another one of my favorites. Didn't make the list just because. The soundtrack to that movie is amazing, though. That's where Sixpence None the Richer became the one hit wonder that they did with "Kiss Me." So yeah, that movie brought that song to life. Shallow Hal is another one. I hate and love Shallow Hal,
Yeah.
both. I think it's you could not make a movie like that today, but it's so cool. But at the same time, like it does send a beautiful message at the end. And Moulin Rouge, this
Ooh.
movie
Oh,
would have made my list, but
yeah.
I don't consider it a rom com though.
It's a musical. It's
But
a
Moulin,
musical.
it's a musical, yeah, right. So it's not. It doesn't necessarily qualify as rom com, but one of my favorite love stories of all time is Moulin Rouge,
Uh,
hands
there's nothing
down.
in life but to be loved and be loved in return. You know what
Right.
I mean? I
Exactly.
You just hit me right
Exactly.
in the heart with Moulin Rouge. I used to listen to
Yeah,
that
that is so
soundtrack
good.
every single
The
day,
greatest thing.
dude.
Me too. Yeah, me too. I still do every once in a while. Put on a soundtrack. Yeah, the greatest thing you'll
Is
ever
living
learn
learn
is just to
to be
love and be
loved
loved in
in
return. It's so good,
return.
and that's how it ends. That's how it ends. Ah, oh my God! If you guys don't know Moulin Rouge, it's with Nicole Kidman. It's with Ewan McGregor. Shout
Ewan
out Ewan
McGregor,
McGregor, aka what's it? Who was he? Oh my God,
Obi Wan
I'm
Kenobi.
he's Obi Wan. He's Obi Wan. I would don't get mad, Brian.
Yeah, never Kenobi. Don't be bad, Brian. Um,
Yeah, so good. Such a good movie. I highly recommend Moulin Rouge. It'll change your life because it's such a weird ass movie. Weird and
uh,
good. Ahead of its time,
ahead of its time. Rom
for
coms.
sure.
One honorable mentions. This one is like my number six, only because my family would watch it all the time, and it didn't make the list just barely. Clueless. Clueless is one of my favorite movies of all time. Clueless is hilarious. Another one that was on a lot when I was a kid, Boomerang with Eddie Murphy. That was on back when we used to get Jet magazine and stuff like that. You guys don't know anything about Jet and Ebony of the Month and stupid stuff like that. Um, Another rom com that comes to mind was dang it, it's on the tip of my tongue. I may just keep it off the list because it's just not it's right there, but it's not there. But yeah, just a couple of honorable mentions of some of the best rom coms of all time. Who's That Girl was one of my favorite rom coms with Madonna, where she was trying to she was like a jewel thief, and she fell in love with this
She's a
nerdy
hustler.
dude. She was a hustler, and she had a cougar, an actual like mountain lion in her back seat of her car, and I always thought that was super cool. So yeah, Toots, any updates? Anything you want to shout out to the Nerdiverse before we call it a romantic evening?
Well, I just want to wish everybody in the universe a very happy Valentine's Day, no matter what you do. If you're booed up, if you're single, have a wonderful time. If you're single, treat yourself, son. Let's go, because that's certainly what I'm gonna do. Just everybody in the universe, love each other, be very kind. Valentine's Day is a little bit jaded. It's not something that I personally celebrate. Like on as I don't make it a spectacle, but my daughter gets something. My dad has always gifted us something for Valentine's Day because it's one of those holidays where you can actually say, hey, you know what, I love you. You know what I mean? So if you have somebody for that, if it's your mom, if it's your grandma, if it's your girlfriend, if it's your wife, if your husband, if it's your significant other, if it's your partner, go for it. Go all out. Just say I love you. That changes everything. I love you. I appreciate you. It's a beautiful message, no matter who you are. So I encourage our Nerdiverse to find one person to say that to on Friday. Also, speaking of Friday, MOTN Live every Friday night at 6 p.m. We are there. So join us on YouTube. You can find us on Instagram at Masters of the Nerdiverse Cast. That way you can just keep up with our updates and what's coming up on the show. I'm sorry. Are you good? Am I talking too much?
No, you're good. You're good. You're good. You're good. You're good.
Oh,
You're good.
okay, okay, okay. I thought you were putting your finger up. Like, hold on.
That was point. Yeah, you're good.
Oh, okay. You're pointing at me.
Yeah, you're good.
All right. I'll point.
You're
I'm gonna
good.
point back.
Okay.
Yeah,
Hey,
cool. All
hey,
right. All
look,
right.
Mexican standoff there. I don't know what's going on.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just we're also on the road to 1K subs on YouTube. We hit 70, so we only need 930 more. So let's
Almost
get there,
there.
you guys. The
Almost
road
there.
to 1K for 2025. If you have 930 friends, share MOTN with them because I promise you they're going to appreciate it. I think that's all I have. I don't have anything personal to plug or mention. Um, I do Que Sera sometimes on 7th Street for the open mics. I do 3 minute to 7 minute sets. They're all right. They're all right. I'm not gonna lie. I need some work, but they're all right. I don't bomb. Okay.
She doesn't
I don't.
bomb.
It's not the Gaza Strip over there. I'm just saying. But I do.
Yeah,
I do all right. I could do a little bit better. But yeah. The next time I'm there, I'll for sure plug it. I'm not gonna be there for the next 3 or 4 weeks. So that's it. That's all I got to say. I'm sorry I talked so much.
no, man, you covered all the good bases. Only thing I have to add to that is that we don't hear "I love you" enough in just day and age. We don't hear those words. We don't have, and sometimes all you need is a little word of affirmation to turn someone's day around. You don't know what kind of day your mother's having, your father's having, your friend's having. So just give them a word of affirmation. If you don't feel comfortable saying I love you, let them know I care about you, man. You're my friend. You're doing a good job. Nice shoes. You look nice today. These little things that wasted 2 airs of breath can lift someone's entire mood. Use Valentine's Day to make a day to give someone words of affirmation. Tell your parents you love them because tomorrow's not promised to anybody. Just use that opportunity to be open to accept love as well. I think it's important that if someone tells you you love them, let them love you. Unless they're weird, then punch them right in the throat. But if they're not weird, accept the compliment. A lot of us have a hard time accepting compliments, so just do that, please. And because love reciprocated is just as important as love given. You know what I mean? So
Amen.
everybody take care of themselves out there. Don't spend too much money. It's every day, every day is Valentine's Day. that's that's what the cheap guy says when he doesn't want to take his girl out for dinner. But don't spend too much money out there. Um, have a good time. Thank you so much for being on this episode. As you can see, my voice is just about gone. This is a
Thank you,
Masters
by
of the
the way. Thank
Nerdiverse.
you for being here.
Oh,
You're amazing.
rain, sleet, or snow. And we always have such sites to show you here at MOTN. I got to start working that back into the lexicon. She's been Toots. I've been Mike G. MOTN. Out. Heart eyes.
Bro, just go.
No, hold it.